Hey everybody, I'm making a video today about my 2014 Mastercraft X2 with a 5.7 liter Ilmor heater issue. So the heater itself at idle does not put out a whole lot of heat. It does a pretty good job when the engine's up and running, spooled up, but I suppose in most cases you're not going to be going fast trying to get any kind of heat out of the system. But at low power, you've basically got a couple options to increase the output. One is going to be the Y, which is going to be attached to the intake on your raw water pump. What that does is the raw water pump actually is going to pull water right through the system with the rest of the water. So I think contrary to popular belief where it's actually creating a vacuum, the pump is actually creating the vacuum, and it's actually pulling water through the system as it's pulling water from the lake itself. So I've heard that works really well. I elected to go with the actual motor pump. It's something that they're installing in the new Mastercraft boats. I was just in an XT20 today, and they had a small pump. I'm going to show you basically where it's located and how I have it hooked up. I'll try to make this as quick as possible. Forgive the boat right now. It is in a million pieces. This has been a big project. I'm also adding a shower to the back of the boat, so I've got panels off everywhere and wires that still need to be tidied up, but I'll kind of show you what I've been up to. So up near, this is again the X2 2014. Up underneath the helm, here's the driver's station, and up underneath the front seat, we're going to have a lot of our electronics. And what you can find right down here is the actual heater core itself. So this is the heater core, and then we've got in mine, there's like 3 or 4 tubes coming out of it. And directly right down here, you can see one of the tubes coming in, and then there's another one directly below it. For installation purposes, I ended up taking the screws out. There are 3 right down there, 1, 2, and then 1 on this side, and that corner 3, and that can more easily come off just for getting these hoses off if you need to take them off. The way that mine is set up is the top is going to be the return, so that is going back to the engine. The bottom one in the back there is actually the hot water line, but as it turns out, you don't need to take those off at all because I ended up putting the pump in the back of the boat. The way that I have it wired up is when you have a relay. So I added this relay right down here. I purchased 5 of them off Amazon for about $25. Again, I need to tidy all this stuff up, but basically coming out of that relay, you go down into one of the wires on the pump. So I ran the relay wire from the smaller, I believe it was white on the relay, is going to be run into, I think I changed colors here, but basically it's going to be connected to the one of the 2 red, or in this case orange and red heater lines. So the heater lines just run right down here. There's 3 of them. There's a black, which is the ground. There's a red, which is high or low. I don't remember. They're marked right here. And then the other is low. So your switch on the dash is going to control one of those to turn this fan on right here onto a certain speed. So what I did is I attached the relay. Basically, to trigger the relay is going to be the switch on the dash. So in my setup, when you turn the switch on the dash to low or to high, it's going to complete the circuit and turn that relay closed. And then I have it wired from here, the battery. In this case, the ignition has to be on for it to work. It goes out and it's protected by a fuse here. And then that runs all the way to the back of the boat to the actual pump. And then I have it coming back to the ground right here. So I just unscrewed one of those and I attached the ground. So the complete circuit is going to be made basically from the, right here comes through a fuse, it goes to the relay itself, and from the relay then it comes out, and then I have a white wire going all the way to the back of the boat, which is the positive for the pump. And then the pump's black wire came all the way back, and I attached it again to this panel just so everything is in one spot. I didn't want to run it to the battery because I didn't want to add an extra switch, and I wanted to be as close to factory as possible. So now when you turn on the heater on the dash, the pump turns on in both the low and the high setting. So when you go to low, the heat, normally the fan comes on just like it normally would. It also closes the relay because that's attached to the wire leading to the pump from the switch. And when the relay closes, it's providing power from, would be the battery, the positive to the back of the boat and to the pump, and the pump is then grounded back to this right here. So if you don't know how relays work, the ones I got off Amazon for $25, there's actually a chart in there that says like how to, or instructions how it works and what to wire it up. But there's basically 4 wires. One is black, it's going to the ground panel here. One is white, that's going to your trigger, and I just wired it into the red on the actual fan control. And I just had to do one. So I don't know how it works, but it does. In both low and high, it triggers the relay to close. And when the trigger closes, it magnetically closes the relay, and then that allows power to go from the battery, which I just wired straight into right here, all the way to the pump, and then the circuit is complete coming back to this right here, which is just the ground panel. So again, I have this all wired up here. I highly suggest a relay. That way you can put it right into your switch very easily. So whenever you turn low or high, the pump is going to turn on, and you don't have to have another switch to turn the actual pump itself on. So with that being said, in that XT20 that I was in today, they ran the pump right down here. So there's my V-drive transmission, and it was located right down there, kind of by that pickup there. I mounted mine to the divider. You can see the pump right there. This is the actual pump from Mastercraft. I bought it off Wake Makers. The kit was $169. I think that I got free shipping. It came to me in about 4 or 5 days. And basically what I did is I just wired it up. And then I have the hot water line coming from the engine that normally went all the way up to the heater core itself. I spliced in, went to the pump. From the pump, it goes up just as it would have before to the heater core. So now when you turn the heater on, instead of just getting slow moving water from the engine, pushing water through the system, the actual pump is going to take water and it's actually going to pull it from the engine and push it through the heater core, and you're going to get more heat out because the heat goes through the core faster, so therefore you can extract more heat. So basically that's in a nutshell kind of how it works. But there again, I just mounted it. There's a divider panel right there, the one that I left in. I just mounted it. I have 3 screws in it, and it's got some grommets there to keep it from vibrating and making any noise. I ran it a little while ago, and it's actually very quiet. But that is where I have it. You can see here, this is the rear step from the engine. It's just located right down there. Easiest to get through from the top here, and I'll show you here in a second. As for the hoses themselves, so there's going to be 2 hoses located right down here in the bilge. You can follow those up to the front of the boat to where the heater core is. But there are basically, this is how they're hooked up. If you look right here, there's a hose that's going down. This is the hot water hose, and it goes up underneath. Sorry, my arm's in the way. But that hose right there is, I have the Y in here, or not the Y, but that's the takeoff for my my shower. But this is the hose. It goes from 5/8 down to whatever the smaller size is, and then from that smaller size, it goes right up there, kind of by the spark plugs. So it is not the one that goes in the top of the engine. The one that goes back to the engine, this right here is your cold water, and the cold water is going to go back up and in to this manifold right here. So I think that is the circulation pump. That's going to be the return. So if you follow from the return, that's your, I guess, the cold water side or the return side of your heater. The hot water is coming from the block. And again, this is a 2014. They've changed it a little bit, but it's going to come from the block, which is located down there kind of by the spark plugs. So that's the hot water line. It came off the engine to about right here. I spliced it, and I put this in for my shower, which is going to be the next thing I add. I wanted to put that ahead of the pump so that the pump doesn't block the hot water from the shower. So basically I'll have hot water coming out of here to the shower. But from here, it just goes right up to the pump, which is located right there. So the hot water comes off the engine, just where the factory has it. It comes down and into the pump, which I have mounted right here to this divider. So it's very simple. There's not much to hook up. There's a couple things that you screw on. The $169 price comes with the attachments. You can buy the pump itself for, I think, $139, and you could probably go to a home center and pick up the two other connections you need for a couple bucks. I'm not sure if the $169 is worth it, but it also does come with a switch. So if you need an extra switch, it does have that. So again, the hot water, for my sake here, comes off of the engine near the block itself, not near the circulation pump there. The cold water, that right there, is going to go up into the circulation. So normally that would kind of be pulling the water through the system or distributing it back into the engine as it comes from a cooled down source, which is the heater block. So that is basically it. Highly suggest the relay. Again, you could wire it up with an individual switch and go directly from the battery if you wanted. But in my case, when you come up to the heater knob here on the dash, when you turn that to low or you turn it to high, not only is it turning the heater fan on, but it also energizes the pump, which is again wired back to the panel underneath the dash. So I hope that's helpful. At least you know, every engine has its different takeoff for hot water. This one just happens to be right there. It's also the same in the MPI 5000, which is the blue newer version of this. Still the open cooled source, not the closed cooled. Just like this is open cooled, drawing fresh water from the lake or the ocean that you're in. So hope that helps. And again, this is the heater pump for a 2012 Mastercraft X2, or a 2014 Mastercraft X2.